All right. So the first one that he gives in the scope of offering these recommendations is, although this present book treats natural law separately from virtue ethics, he says that he thinks that it makes more sense for Peterson to treat them of a piece. After all, Aquinas put them together. And he talks about how Aquinas kind of focuses, it seems, more on one aspect over the other aspect in his writings, in the whole nature of the Summas. Which, if you've read all the Summas, then that's something that you put on your the endpoint of your doctor dissertation. And I've read all the Summas. So, but Peterson's account may be further strengthened by resisting two temptations. Kallenberg says the first temptation to resist is the urge to ontologize, which is so common among natural lawyers. And so he says, well, what do I mean here? There is an ever-present tendency among natural law thinkers to reify the terms of their explanation, mistakenly thinking that by turning every noun into a thing, explanation thereby becomes more solid. Do we really need to make human nature or natural kinds into things in order to employ natural law ethics? So that's his kind of main thrust of his first point here.
Yeah. So this notion of reification here is just turning something into a thing. And that's what he's going to take issue with. He says, rather than insist that our human nature is a real entity, so rather than insist that it's a thing, right? One ethicist, Herbert McCabe, advises us simply to let our ordinary language use show us what makes sense to say. And so whether, instead of just giving a definition of something and therefore turning it, reifying it, right? He says how we talk about it should be a way for us to understand it. That's what he's getting at here. And so he says, for example, when we kick the tires of a car, we normally say, I kicked the tire. But if I intentionally kick your shin, you'd ordinarily say, stop kicking me, right? Rather than stop kicking the shin of the leg, right? And so he says, our language shows our tendency to treat a machine, even a complex one, as an aggregation of parts. But we treat our organisms, right, people and plants and animals and that sort of thing, whether a person or a leopard or whatever, not as an aggregated, set of parts or pieces like arms and legs and paws and claws. He says, but the way that we talk shows that we naturally treat a living organism as a unit, as an organic whole. And thus the fact that we are organisms means that a discovery of our God-given telos requires more of us than just an investigation of the machine and its parts, right? So organisms allow, then he's suggesting, for us to have this purpose and goal, and we can see that by how we use our language toward organisms.
So can the eye say to the foot, depart from me, for I do not need you? Well, doesn't seem to be the case here.
That's right.
All right, so that's the first temptation.